All right, let's talk about something that affects pretty much everyone. The news you see every single day. The European Union has just rolled out a brand new and pretty ambitious set of rules to protect it. It's called the European Media Freedom Act, or EMFA for short. And, it's basically a massive attempt to create one single rulebook for media across all its member countries.
So you might be asking yourself, why? Why does my news feed need a whole new rulebook? I mean, it seems to work, right? Well, the thing is, the media world has totally changed. It's gone digital, it's gone global, and while that's opened up a lot of doors, it's also created some pretty serious problems. So today, we're going to break down exactly what the EU thinks is wrong with our media landscape and what their big plan is to fix it.
Okay, so first things first, let's look at what's actually gone wrong. Why did the EU feel the need to step in with this huge new law? Because this wasn't just some random idea. They saw some real, fundamental threats to how news works, and honestly, to its role in a healthy democracy.
So what's the diagnosis? Well, the EU basically boiled it down to three big problems. First, you've got these giant global platforms acting as gatekeepers. They're the ones deciding a lot of what you see, and their business models are, frankly, draining revenue from the actual news creators. Second, there's a growing problem of interference, people trying to influence what gets reported, whether it's governments or powerful private interests. And third, you've got this messy, fragmented market. With 27 countries, you have 27 different sets of rules. It's a total patchwork, and that makes it super difficult for media companies to work across borders.
All right, so that brings us to a really crucial piece of this puzzle. How do you protect the actual journalists, the people on the ground gathering the news? Because let's be real, if they don't feel safe to do their jobs, the quality of information we all get takes a massive hit. This is a huge, foundational part of this new law. And this quote, this right here, gets to the absolute heart of it. This isn't some polite recommendation. No, this is a legal shield. A shield for journalists and their confidential sources that now applies across the entire European Union. I mean, just think about that for a second. Before, the level of protection a journalist had could be completely different depending on which country they were in. Now, there's a clear, high standard for everyone. The message is simple. You can't force a reporter to give up a source unless it's for an incredibly serious, legally defined reason.
Now, the law gets even more specific, and it calls out a very modern and very dangerous threat: spyware. And we're not just talking about a simple wiretap here. This is the nasty stuff. Software that can secretly turn a journalist's phone into a spy in their own pocket, recording calls, copying messages, tracking their every move. The act basically says, whoa, this is a massive threat to that crucial trust between a journalist and their source, and it's putting a stop to its abuse.
So, can they ever use it? Well, yes, but look at the hoops they have to jump through. The legal bar is now incredibly high. We're talking about a whole checklist. It has to be justified by some overriding public interest. It has to be for investigating a specific, really serious crime, think terrorism, not just any old case. And it has to be signed off by a judge or another independent authority. And even then, it's only allowed if there's no less intrusive way to get the information. So yeah, this is designed to make it an absolute last resort, not a go-to tool for investigators.
Okay, so protecting journalists is one thing, but what about the organizations they work for? The next big part of this act is all about strengthening the foundations for both public and private media, because a healthy media ecosystem really needs both to be strong and independent. And the way it does this is with a kind of two-pronged approach. On one side, you have public service media. Think your national broadcasters. The rules here are all about protecting them from political pressure, making sure they have stable, predictable funding and independent leadership. Then, on the other side, you have rules for all media providers. These are all about boosting transparency and making sure there are internal firewalls to protect editorial freedom from any kind of interference. And this transparency stuff, this is a really big deal for you, for all of us as news consumers. From now on, every media outlet will have to be crystal clear about who owns them. Not just the company name, but the actual people, the beneficial owners behind the scenes. They also have to declare how much money they're getting from government advertising. Why? So you can see for yourself who might be pulling the strings and spot any potential conflicts of interest. It's all about following the money. Now, you can't talk about media today without talking about the tech giants. A massive part of this new law tackles that tricky relationship between news outlets and the huge online platforms that share their work. I mean, let's face it, for a lot of us, these platforms are the news, and that gives them an incredible amount of power. So the EMFA hones in on what it calls very large online platforms. You know who they are. It recognizes that when they decide to take down a news story
or suspend an account, that's not just a moderation decision. It's a decision that can seriously impact media freedom. So the act is stepping in to create a whole new process to make sure those decisions aren't just made on a whim.
So here's how it works. It's basically a new right of reply for news outlets. Before a big platform can just yank their content, they have to send a notice explaining why. The news outlet then gets 24 hours to respond and make their case. Only after reviewing that response can the platform make a final decision. It's a system designed to slam the brakes on those instant, sometimes arbitrary takedowns and give media organizations a proper chance to be heard.
Okay, so we've talked about journalists, media companies, and giant tech platforms. But let's bring it all back home. What does all of this actually mean for you when you're scrolling through your newsfeed? What's the real takeaway here?
If you remember one thing, make it this. For the first time, there is one common framework for media services across the entire EU. One set of rules for everyone.
And the whole point of that one framework is to build a healthier, more reliable media environment for every single one of us. It gets rid of that confusing patchwork of 27 different legal systems and replaces it with a single, high standard. So what's in it for you? Well, you get to know who's behind your news. Journalists get stronger protections to do their jobs without fear. Public media gets a shield from political meddling. And there are finally clearer rules for how the big tech platforms have to treat news. Oh, and as a little bonus, you even get the right to easily change the default media apps on your phone or tablet. It's all about putting more power and more clarity in your hands.
So there you have it. The EU has written this massive new rulebook for media freedom. It is, without a doubt, one of the boldest moves we've seen anywhere in the world to try and protect journalism in this crazy digital age. The ideas are solid, the principles are strong, but the big question remains. In a world that changes as fast as our online one does, can a set of rules, no matter how well written, actually keep up with the game? That's the real test.